Hey guys, how's your day? Well, mine is pretty relaxed because I have a very nice, strong, fast and relaxing Torment 10 farming spec now. And this is with the Demon Hunter. And I really love this spec because it's very powerful for Torment 10. It's extremely fast and it's extremely relaxing because you can, if you autocast your skills, you can basically just run the spec with one hand. You just press down the right mouse button or wherever you have that key for strafe, and then you go on, and that's it. But what is it all about? You can clearly see it's strafe. It's with Legacy of Nightmares, those two new set rings. And on top of that, you can see that Vengeance is up all the time. That's mandatory for everything a Demon Hunter does right now. You can see those interesting wings on the character. That's Shadow Power. This is up all the time as well. And you can also see lightning is going out here. You can see that here. And this is the Wrath of Lightning, the gem. And on top of that, you can't see that here in this fast-paced gameplay. But on top of that, it also has the Pain Enhancer as some additional damage, and you can also see the Firewalkers, the fire trail that you have behind you with this. And this all deals damage, and it's all buffed by the Legacy of Nightmare spec. And the movement speed of that spec, you can see that clearly here. It's amazing. It's really amazing. It's everything you need, and in Torment 10 this is enough to just smash everything. You can see that here. Just strafe through everything, you just hit it and then you go on, especially the elite. The other one on top is already dead, even though you can see it here. But boom, gone. Just like that. And this is, it's at the same speed, but more relaxing than the multi-shot spec with Unhallowed Essence. And that's why I came up with it. It's something different, it's not multi-shot. Because some people really love playing strafe, and I'm one of those. I was very thrilled when the Natalia spec came out, but it turned out that strafe is just a carrier for that spec. It's just used to get more procs on the two-piece bonus of the Natalia spec, of the Natalia set, where you reduce the cooldowns. So if you want to do damage with strafe and have perma-strafe without having to interrupt it all the time, this is the spec that you should use. And this is more powerful than the other specs with Legacy of Nightmares that are out there. Alright, so let's check it. Let's see how's that made, what is important for that. Alright, we have that spec here, that little lady. And as I said, it's Legacy of Nightmares. Here, these are the rings, the Wailing Host and the Litany of the Undaunted. And the combination of both gives you this, that you have 100% more damage for each ancient item that you have, and 4% more damage reduction. You can't see the increased damage, but you can see the increased toughness, the damage reduction, and that's here. If you go with the mouse over your resistances, it says whatever resistance you have, 66.68% plus 52%. It's not exactly 52% in the tooltip here. But I really don't understand why that is. It should be 52, but whatever, doesn't matter. Alright, and for the rings, what I have here is crit cooldown. This is very good. You want to have crit and something else than main stat, because this is just optimal. Other than the other one, this is dexterity, attack speed and crit chance. This is not good. Attack speed doesn't help at all, because when you're above 2.14 attacks per second, you are in a breakpoint goes up to 2.5 attacks per second, and every attack per second that you have between those two values, 2.14 or 2.5, doesn't increase your damage with strafe that you do. So it doesn't matter. It would be much better to have a double crit and dexterity ring, for example, or something else than dexterity, as I said. The amulet is the Hellfire amulet, also ancient. I found it in my stash. I crafted it a long time ago and didn't salvage because it was ancient, and now I'm happy I have it, so I don't have to craft a new one. I have dexterity here, and in this spec, you will see it later, it's potentially stronger than any elemental buff, like fire or physical, for example, because it buffs everything. Alright, the gems I use here. You have seen this Bane of the Trapped here. Bane of the Trapped with the passive Thrill of the Hunt. Let's quickly check what Thrill of the Hunt does. here, Thrill of the Hunt. Enemies that are hit by Hatred Spenders are slowed by 80% for 2 seconds. And so this automatically procs Bane of the Trapped on the whole screen with Strafe going on. Right, okay, and the other gems here, Pain Enhancer, 3600, 30% over 3 seconds. That's 1200 for each second after you have hit something with a critical hit. And remember, this damage gets buffed by the Legacy of Nightmares bonus, so this is huge. This is 1200 damage per second, and this here, Strafe, it's actually a bit more if you consider the weapons and the buff, but it's in the same range, and this ticks on even if you don't hit the monster. And this is something very strong. For Torment 10, this is really, really cool for speed farming. You don't need the attack speed, you don't want the attack speed here actually, other than in the high push solo ranking specs and the wizard currently. But yeah, here you want the damage. And then Wrath of Lightning. This is 1300% per second as well, and it gives movement speed, and it's up permanently. Whenever there's monsters around, you have this up, and so this is also damage. And this is lightning damage, this is physical damage, and the Strafe itself is fire damage. Then we have some more sources of physical damage on Vengeance, and so 3 different damage types, they all get buffed by Convention of Elements as well, which I have in the spec. And this is one of the things that makes it so powerful. Right, but to the rest of the gear. Mage Fist, of course, and Syndicate. Those 2 fire items, they channel us to use, they force us to use Fire Strafe. There's no alternative. In fire, you could use Demolition, which throws out bouncing grenades, like this. But however, this is not as good as Rocket Storm, because Rocket Storm is just faster. It's faster damage. It hits the monsters faster, it applies Pain Enhancer faster, and yeah, it just deals the damage faster, and that's what you want to have in Torment 10 speedruns, right? And since there's no alternative to Syndicate, like there's basically no chest that does something similar, we're forced to use that, because otherwise we would run out of hatred constantly. Right, Shoulders, a Mantle of Channeling. Of course, this is mandatory for everything that uses a channeling skill like a Strafe or Tempest Rush for the Monk. And the rolls is with cooldown reduction here, because you want cooldown reduction. And area damage. Area damage is very good this spec, in this patch, and yeah, the alternatives could be more toughness, but you don't really need that. Then I have the Visage of Junes. This is adding toughness, because Vengeance gains the effect of the Dark Heart rune. Dark Heart. Here, damage taken reduced by 50%. That's pretty cool. Then the Varzichian Arm Guards with Fire, Crit, Dexterity Armor. I want Vitality here, but I don't have it. I would like to have 2 pickup radius as well. But yeah, that's just what I got here. I think I had much better ones in earlier days, but I salvaged them because no one thought about Legacies of Nightmares coming up, right? Okay, then Hexing Pans of Mr. Yan. These are also very crucial for that spec, because without them you will be starved, your hatred will drop, and you will not be able to perma-spam Rocket Storm Strafe. Because, okay, it reduces the regen. Let's go to the resource tab. It reduces the resource tab when you're standing, resource regen when you're standing still, and increases it when you move. Okay, reduction standing still. Here, this is 5.46 currently. This is because I have a bit of it on one of the weapons. But when I move, it's 6.8. And then when I activate Vengeance Seath and I remove them, I'm at 15. I put them in and move, I'm at 19. And this is a very good number. It's 19 hatred per second. That's really cool. And this allows you to sustain it, combined with the cost reduction on Syndicate and on the Paragons plus 1 other source. This is okay. This is enough. Then I use the Witching Hour in the belt. Very strong, very cool, but there's also alternatives. And one of the alternatives is to use the gold wrap, of course, for damage immunity. And then you can also swap out the Visage of Junes and put something like an Andariel's Visage like this in. But ultimately, this only really helps you when you also replace the Convention of Elements in the cube and put Avarice Band in. However, the clear speed is not higher and you don't feel safer, and yeah, I I prefer this way. I prefer it like this. But it's just personal preference. If you want to farm gold as well, and you just want to combine everything, you just use those two. Like, and areas could be physical or fire because you deal both damage types, and gold grab, and then you're fine to go. Alright, the boots here, firewalkers, they add a trail of cinder basically, which is a reminder of the old strafe rune. Like here we have icy trail, and in earlier days it was trail of cinder, which was doing the same without chilling but burning the monsters that walk on that patch. Right, and so this is basically adding the effect now. And this damage, as well as Pain Enhancer, Wrath of Lightning, Strafe itself, and also here Chakram, Shuriken Cloud. This damage, it's all buffed by the Convention of Elements and this one, and the Legacy of Nightmares, and that's why it's so good. And if you stack all this damage, you do a lot of damage, especially in the Rift Guardian, where you need to do a lot more damage than on the standard monsters. You stack so much damage that they just die in very short time. Alright, then the weapons. These are the two strafe weapons. They buffed them in patch 2.4, and they buffed them so much that there's no alternative anymore. Alright, this one, Valor's Bequest, secondary effect, legendary effect, strafe projectiles pierce. This is cool because this means, especially with Rocket Storm or a rune that works similarly with standard projectiles that shoot out, that means that you hit basically all targets on the screen at the same time, activating Pain Enhancer and also proccing Wrath of Lightning extremely fast. And that's why this is so strong. And also the strafe damage, the increased here is very good. I have cost reduction and hatred regen on it. Both allow me to perma-spam strafe, and this is really, really cool. This is basically the level that we want to have, to perma-spam strafe. Then the Khmar Tank Clip, it just adds more movement speed, and I have cooldown reduction here. And so let's go for those things again. Cooldown reduction 38 with Dawn in the cube. And this is enough to have perma uptime on Vengeance. Alright, let's go to the cube, check for some options here. Dawn, there's no alternative. No Demon Hunter spec can go without Dawn. Then I have the Sash of Knives. Again, there's the alternative of using Gold Wrap, of course, because Gold Wrap makes you just immune to damage when you pick up enough gold. However, I don't need to be immune to damage because I have around 63 million toughness. And this is enough for Torment 10. And Sash of Knives, the 650% weapon damage, it goes out for every attack that you do. It's physical, it's buffed by Legacy of Nightmares, it's buffed by the Convention of Elements. And this is really a ton of damage because it's also piercing. Like, it pierces everyone. And so this damage is not nothing. It's really cool. It's adding on to the damage that you stack. But yeah, these are alternatives. One other alternative, there is the shoulders, the new shoulders that you can craft for 7 pickup radius. You could use them and then place the Mantle of Channeling in the cube. This is also a viable option, but I wouldn't recommend it because you would have to spend a lot of resources on crafting one of those shoulders, and I don't think it's really worth it. Other alternatives, in this spec I have permanent uptime on, I tried it, I have permanent uptime on the Aquila Cuirass, just doubling the toughness again, but as I said, more toughness is not needed. You could also use Deathwatch Mantle. When they hit you, you proc some Fan of Knives for some damage, but this is all, yeah, it's only on melee range, and you want to kill trash when you just pass it, and this is best done with the Sash of Knives. I tried many options and this seems to be the best. And then in the ring slot, a jewelry slot for the cube, Convention of Elements or Avarice Band, these are the two options that you basically have. Gotta wait a few more minutes. And I go for Convention of Elements because the increased damage beats the increased pickup radius of Avarice Band. I have 7 pickup radius currently. Where is that? Here, bonus 7. You can have up more than 10, and if you have that, you don't need the Avarice Band anymore. So even with gold wrap in the belt slot, you don't really need that. Right, you could use Elusive Ring, of course. You could use that for more toughness, because here, Shadow Power activates it as well. That would result in some hilariously high toughness numbers, but you would lose a lot of damage, and you don't need so much toughness in Torment 10. This is a Torment 10 farming spec. I tried it in G60, but that was not a good idea. I cleared G60 in 5 minutes, but I had a death timer of 20 or 25 seconds in the end, because I had Perdition Rift Guardian, and he just killed me one shot with his teleport attack. Yeah, anyways, okay, Chakram Shuriken Cloud, first skill I have here. It's just damage around you. When you go to Yellow Elites or the Rift Guardian, this adds on damage, and you don't have to do anything here. Just activate it every now and then then that's it. A second skill, Strafe Rocket Storm, I talked about that. It's really strong, really cool. That's what you want to have. Shadow Power, Shadow Glide for more movement speed, in combination with Tactical Advantage. Vengeance, Seethe for the hatred, and it also fires rockets, just as Rocket Storm, and that's why you have ballistics here. Very strong combination. Preparation, Focused Mind, this is only here to power Shadow Power, to give it more discipline. And depending on how much resource cost reduction you have, I have 19% for this here. Depending on how much you have, this decides how often you can activate Shadow Power. And yeah, the more you have, the more often you can activate Shadow Power. The faster you move, the faster you clear the rifts, but you lose damage. And this is like you have to find a balance for what you want. Then I have Companion, Wolf Companion for just more damage. It's also an autocast, so nothing to think about. The only thing that you use is Strafe, right click and move through the rift, and then loot what the Rift Guardian drops and go out. Cull the Weak, of course, slowed enemies. I have Thrill of the Hunt in the amulet, so this is up all the time, very strong passive. Tactical Advantage and Hot Pursuit, they are there for movement speed, and that's why you move so fast. There is one more alternative that I ignored or didn't talk about, and this is one that I also like a lot. It's the Gloves of Worship here. Reduces your damage that you have directly here from Sash of Knives. However, when you have those shrines active, Fleeting Shrine, Empowered Shrine, and Frenzy Shrine, you're dealing more damage. And you're extremely fast. You have no hatred resource issues anymore. You can spam Shadow Power continuously, actually, so you have the 60% from Tactical Advantage. And this is just, it's mad. When you have this up, it's really mad, but I think it's a bit too unreliable. There's just too many pylons and not shrines in those rifts. And therefore, you drop out, and this doesn't feel weird. It does feel weird. It doesn't feel so good when you always have different paces in your game speed. So that's why I chose the setup and the skills I have here. Alright, and that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed it spec as much as I do, and see you next time. Bye.